Well, welcome to the Outlaw Radio Show. My name is Zach Adams, and I pastor a church located just outside of Athens, Georgia. The name of the church is Calvary 316. If you're local, come hang out with us one Sunday morning. Service is at 10:30. If you're not local but looking for a church that teaches the Bible that you can connect with online, we stream at facebook.com/Calvary316, our service, as well as our YouTube channel, which is Calvary316.live. We doing all right over there, Pope Creighton?
I am doing good.
So that was the shofar. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but we all missed the rapture yesterday. I don't know.
That was unbelievably bad.
Yeah, no,
Give me the shofar.
No, he's never been good at that.
He never has.
No, let's see if Creighton did you do better. Put him. Let's see. He just.
It's coming away from me. No, I can do it.
Oh, that's great. That was
not as easy as you would expect, huh?
That was a lot better than yours.
Oh my gosh, that first attempt was terrible.
You should join a ska band.
I feel very warm right now.
So I had gotten.
That was embarrassing.
I woke up yesterday morning to a text message where it was from a young lady in our church, and it was, "Hey, so is the rapture happening today?" And I'm like, I'm half asleep, and I'm like, does she know something I don't? And so apparently on TikTok, there was like this whole big crazy thing that was going on about the rapture.
Yeah,
I didn't really follow it at all.
All the TTTs were going off.
The TTTs?
TikTok theologians.
Oh yeah. It was.
I like that.
It was kind of a big thing. I saw it.
You saw it.
Which means that it's
weird.
Everywhere.
You saw it, but I didn't see it anywhere.
Yes.
I don't have TikTok, but I had a couple people message me.
So what was the deal with it? I know nothing about it other than the fact that apparently we all missed the rapture yesterday.
It corresponds with the Jewish holiday of Rosh Hashanah, or the Jewish New Year, where they blow shofars to welcome
the Feast of Trumpets.
The Feast of Trumpets. Yeah. And so everybody's saying, oh, this is when the rapture is going to happen, because they say the rapture will happen with a trumpet blast.
Also, if I'm not mistaken, there was a TikTok prophet who claimed that in the past month or so, Jesus himself appeared to this man and told him that the rapture was going to happen.
It's nice.
And he was like, he came on and was like, yes, Jesus told me.
No, my short research on this was even worse than that. It wasn't that Jesus told him that the rapture was going to happen. It was that the World Cup was not going to happen in 2026. And so his conclusion to that was
if there's no World Cup,
that the rapture was
got to be the rapture.
But that doesn't even make sense, because let's be honest, if the rapture did happen,
World Cup would be fine.
I mean, there are no Christians are soccer fans at all. So
we're gonna get in trouble.
I mean, there could be.
Oh, is that what's going to get us shut down?
I mean, the rapture happened. Soccer will continue on like nobody knew.
Okay, I really need this not to be our last episode. I can't have
is that what's going to that That's what's going to shut us down.
Blowing the shofar that poorly being our last episode. I just can't have it.
So have it. So we missed the rapture. I will say this about the topic. You'll run into people that will take the feasts, the Hebrew feasts, and attribute them to seminal moments in Jewish history, and there is an absolute correlation to many of them. But here's the problem with pointing to the Feast of Trumpets as to having something to do with the rapture, and that is the fact that the Hebrew feasts are about God's prophetic plan for Israel. The rapture of the church has nothing to do with Israel, and so it doesn't have a very linear connection to it. So I might do an episode on that, about the feasts and how they play out prophetically.
Can I blow the shofar again?
We can absolutely blow the shofar again.
I would like to, because I think one of the things that we really lose on when we have this kind of date setting ridiculousness go on is the other thing that I've seen now that we've missed the rapture, is both Christians and non-Christians who don't believe the rapture that the rapture will happen, either preterists or post-tribulationists, whatever, and then atheists are just clowning on Christians.
Right.
Like, you idiots. And it's so hard for me to be like, no, we're not. Like, we're not dumb. And
well, that's why we opened the show by making fun of it as well.
Yes.
Even though we believe that the rapture could happen by the end of the show, it could, Justin could try to blow that trumpet again and a real one sound. And boom, the dead in Christ rise.
And that would be great. And it's something I'm looking forward to.
No, but I'm with you. Like, the date-setting nonsense and lunacy.
We lose so much credibility, both to other Christians and to non-Christians.
Although our shofar blowing might have set the date back a little bit.
Or expedited it.
Oh, yeah.
Jesus is like, I got to show these guys how it's done. I need to go and teach a clinic.
Yeah. I can say this. Jesus is not God the Father in heaven is not waiting for one of you two guys to die to then be the trumpet player
no, he
in the future.
Not.
Like,
no, he's not trying to recruit from this pool.
I can say that in heaven, the Father's not going to be like, hey, Jesus, it's time to get your bride. Tell Justin he can blow the shofar.
Oh, I'll be like, nah.
Leave him.
No,
leave him down there.
I'm already here. Why are we even doing anything?
Yeah. So anyway, happy missing. This is the first episode of the Outlaw Radio Show post-rapture. And,
also, happy Rosh Hashanah, Jewish New Year.
Yes.
New Year.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We're glad that you're with us, all of us that have missed the rapture. Anyway,
this literally happened before.
Yeah, we talked about this.
We talked about where we should do it without Creighton knowing.
Yeah, blowing the
Yeah, he passed it off to me.
Is that how this works now?
Yeah.
You guys know that I hate surprises.
Yeah, that's why we do surprises.
Awesome.
If you enjoyed surprises, it wouldn't quite land the way that we want it to.
And if you have any ideas for surprises for Creighton, just email us at popecreighton@gmail.com.
Yes, because ironically, it doesn't go to Creighton. It goes to me.
No, it goes to Zach.
Yeah. So anyway,
not to me.
The man, before we get to we got a lot of things planned for the show. A lot of fun conversations. I want to start though, just kind of, what was it? 2 weeks ago, we did an episode right after Charlie Kirk had been assassinated, and we did an episode about the death penalty. And within that conversation, we talked about like the difference between like what is forgiveness, what is its role, does forgiveness excuse the necessity of judgment? Is it forgiveness or judgment, or is it a both and? And for those of you, I'm probably really preaching to the choir, because did you guys watch the memorial on Sunday?
Not the whole thing, but I did see Erica Kirk's.
Okay.
I have not. I also haven't watched Erica Kirk's address she did from Charlie's studio.
Oh, it's powerful.
Well, you can watch that one, but the one that she did at the memorial is.
I did see clips of that, like her forgiving the shooter, which is powerful. And no, I was my Jessica, she started streaming it right when it came on. I think she ended up watching the entire thing. I was napping at the beginning of it because it was post church, and then when it became evident that the Falcons are terrible, it was like, all right, I'll go in and watch some of this, and I'm really glad I did. It was very moving. I had a buddy that went. That he was in line at 11 p.m. Saturday night, was in line, sending pictures and stuff on Facebook about just the whole deal. And he was like, dude, he got into the stadium, had a pretty good seat, but it was a pretty powerful, very profound. But again, I thought that there was a very, Trump has gotten some pushback for it. I liked it, where, I thought it was, programming wise, was interesting that Erica Kirk went first, and then Trump followed. It was J.D. Vance, then Erica Kirk, and then Trump. I wasn't sure if they were going to do Trump and then Erica Kirk. Like the order was interesting to me, and that was, they did it the way that they did it because they wanted it to also be a bit of a political rally, because that's what Charlie Kirk would have wanted, and they were trying to make a point to some things, and it was a promo for Turning Point. None of that's wrong.
because it's not a funeral service. That was not a funeral service. It was a memorial, a celebration of life, but there was a point that was being made. But, you know, she came out and she forgave the shooter. I thought that was just really, really powerful. And then I thought equally powerful was when Trump came up afterwards and was like, yeah, I know Charlie's going to probably be upset when I say this. Yeah, but I'm not going to forgive him, and I'm going to make sure that he gets executed, you know, so to speak. And I thought, yeah, that's absolutely appropriate. Like, the victim needs to forgive, because that's how Erica Kirk's going to gain healing. It's not her responsibility to enact justice. Like, that's not the society that we live in. That's not the society that the Jewish people had. It's not, hey, you've harmed me, now I get to take it back out on you. Like, I'm now the victim administering justice. That's not how anybody wants that to work. She needs to forgive. I thought it was a powerful display of Christianity. It was moving. It was sincere. Like, you could tell it was not an act. But then, yes, I want that from the victim, especially if it's a Christian. But I want my government saying, that's great, but we're going to uphold justice and see the man executed. Like, we're gonna try him and fairness, and then we're going to convict him, and then we're going to sentence him, and then we're going to execute him, because the dude shot Charlie Kirk, an innocent man, in the throat in front of the world. And we can't be a society that allows things like that to happen without there being a very clear deterrent, and that being death. So, you know, I thought it was a great example of what we had talked about 2 weeks ago, where you saw the virtues of forgiveness, the need for forgiveness, the benefits of forgiveness practically demonstrated right there. But then you also have, like, what is the role of government? And the role of government is not to forgive. It's to uphold justice. And that necessitates the president of the United States saying, like, hey, I got no dog in the fight, but my job as the president of the United States is to make sure our laws are upheld. And yeah, we're going to deal with this. I thought it was, again, a good example, a good illustration of what we've been talking about a couple weeks ago. Tonight we're going to talk about bowing down versus standing up and the cost that comes with that. I think that there's been some things happening within our culture over the last few years. We've seen, like, some really crazy pendulum swings. And it should serve as a great reminder to all of us that we need to stand up for truth. No matter what the consequence, we should stand up for truth. And we should not bow down for a falsehood, for a lie. And I think there's a great practical illustration of that related to Malcolm Gladwell and Miss Ponder. We're going to get to all of that. We're going to also find ourselves in Daniel chapter 3. But before we get to any of it, we do have a fresh installment of our Pepper Poppers series. And so, Creighton, if you want to cue up the intro, and then we'll pass it to Spice Daddy.
Turn it up, it's time to get poppin'. This is Spice Daddy, ho, couldn't no stoppin'. Diving into Christian pop with flair. Movies, books, and faith beyond compare. From the big screen to the pages we read, he's got a spice to fill your every need. With a like and grin, he brings the heat. Pepper Poppers, yo, it's the ultimate beat. Pepper Poppers, spice it up, let's go. Justin's breaking down a Christian show. Movies, books, and faith, he's got the vibe. Spice Daddy's here to keep it live. Pepper Poppers feel the fire, so true. Pop with purpose, he's talking to you.
What's up, my little Pepper Poppers? It's Spice Daddy here again with another top 10. But before we get to that, let's go with a little sponsorship thing. I just want to shout out Lee Steven again. His book 3 in the Destiny's Edge series is out. It's called Hero. Best one so far that I've read. Been talking with him. He's like, hey, what'd you think? I was like, read it within like 48 hours of you sending it to me. Great book. If you haven't checked them out, Zach's been reading it.
Yes, no, I'm almost, I'm maybe 2/3 of the way through the first book. And when you walked into the studio today, I was immediately like, hey, so we're in Russia.
Yeah.
And we've discovered an alien base and we've attacked it.
Right.
There's been some casualties, pretty gnarly stuff. And you knew exactly what I was talking about.
I did.
So, yeah.
That's because that book just keeps my captivity.
It's very well done.
It is.
I really want to, I will say this, I really do want to do an interview. Now that I'm reading the book, I have some fun questions to Mr. Stevens about just the way that he decided to handle aliens with Christianity. And then also how he handles kind of Christianity as this like undercurrent.
And I think that's the best part that I like about his books is that it's leaving enough of a mystery to where I have theories.
I want to do an interview and ask.
And I don't know where to go from here.
And I also want to know if the word Vec is his way of avoiding using curse words.
Probably it sounds like it.
Right.
Yes.
Anyway.
So if Mr. Stevens is watching this, I would love to do an interview. We got to figure out how to set
I might
this
have
up.
to go to his place and do it.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Anyways, let's go back to the top 10. This one's going to be a little different. Before we get started, you normally drink hot sauce, and
You've been snake bit recently.
I think a few of us got snaked.
I still would have done hot sauce if this was like a good list, but this is not a good list. And I initially started out maybe saying, oh, I'm going to get something I really don't like. And so as I was coming here to your house today, I was at the gas station and I was like, what can I do? And so and so I grabbed something that was the most
Great, no one can see.
disgusting thing.
But Justin can.
and so I chose, and this might offend some people, and I don't care. Bread and butter pickles, also known as sweet pickles, and I was like, oh, I want to eat those before and instead of the
Which
hot
I
sauce.
still think you should do. I have one right
because
here,
I
Justin.
associate hot sauce with good things, and I was going to eat those and then go through this list.
It's like a sweet gherkin, like a sweet pickle.
Yeah, it's a
sweet
bread and butter pickle. Like the
And
kind you'd put on a hamburger.
I despise
Oh,
those.
okay.
One of the worst things in my life.
I love
One of the
all
worst
pickles.
things in my life is seeing some pickles, which I love pickles, on like a platter, and going in for a bite, and it's sweet pickles, and it just makes my stomach churn. And I was gonna do it. I was geared up to do it, and the more I thought about it, it just disgusted me to the point where I chickened out. And I'm not ashamed to say that because I just can't do it. This list does not deserve anything associated with it.
Okay, so what's the list?
My top 10 heretical people.
Heretics. Also known as heretics.
Yep.
Heretical people,
Yep.
a.k.a.
Heretics.
Heretical heretics.
Yep.
Top 10 heretics.
Yeah.
So let's get some controversy going, right?
Right. And so this is not a good list, but I think it's a necessary list. And it does not deserve anything associated with it, or basically it grossed me out and I didn't want to throw up
So let's define heretic.
In layman's term, a heretic is someone that goes against what is established beliefs. Specifically, Christian heretic would
Dealing
be-
with Christianity.
Yeah, dealing with Christianity is someone that goes against established beliefs of the general church. I guess it'd be safe to say like maybe the Nicene Creed would be a good base point for that.
Well,
But it goes a little bit further than that. But
Okay, let's add maybe one other important caveat to that will help with this definition. So it's a Christian espousing beliefs that not only run contrary to fundamental Orthodox Christianity, but would lead you to hell.
yep, that would be a good
It's
thing.
not like, hey, we disagree on the rapture, you're a heretic. Because heretic is thrown around all the time. You know, I'm a mid-tribulate, you're a heretic.
Good example of this would probably, our most well-known one would probably be Martin Luther in the Roman Catholic Church. Martin Luther was considered a heretic by the Roman Catholic Church, but in overall
Well,
definition, it was not.
You had Tyndall, who's like translating Bibles, called a heretic,
Right.
because you wanted the Bible in the language of people. A heretic is someone that is teaching in a position of authority claiming to be within Christianity, but their beliefs not just run counter to Christianity, but are so egregious that that person and those who follow them are going to hell. Right.
Yep.
So like we wouldn't classify Catholics necessarily as being heretics, because while I have a lot of disagreements about Catholicism, and it depends on how deeply you might go into it, I think that there are good Christian people within Catholicism. Same with Eastern Orthodoxy, also similar. We're talking about like, you follow this person, you're not following Jesus, you're going to hell. So I think that's
You're worshiping a different Jesus than we are.
a different Jesus. I think that's a good qualifier, which will make some of this a little controversial.
It will.
So we're gonna do the first three, right? So 10, 9, and 8.
First three, number 1, or 10, if
Yes.
you may say, Joseph Smith. Joseph Smith, the founder of Mormonism, or the Latter-day Saints, as they are known today, worshipped a different Jesus, or believed in a different Jesus than what we
For sure.
we know.
But they claim to be Christian,
Correct. Yep.
which is a perversion of
not just a perversion, but a deceitfulness.
It's a deceit. It's a
Deceit of that, and that's a. I think within proper definition of heretical teachings, that is a good caveat to that. Is that deceitful teachings?
Okay, so let me ask you a question about this list. I think this is going to be a different type of top 10, because it's not necessarily like in rank of heretic. You're
Right.
just going,
I'm just
here
going
are
through
10,
them.
here are 10 heretics. Because Joseph Smith, I mean, if you're ranking,
Pretty high on the list.
pretty
high
high on the list.
Yeah.
Pretty high.
I
on
don't.
the
I don't
list.
think you can really necessarily rank heretical teaching.
Ranking
It's
heretics.
just all really bad, and if you follow these people, there's a good, and you adhere to what their teachings are, you're going to hell.
Hey, and if you are out there and you're like, what's wrong with Joseph Smith? There are literally hundreds of hours of videos on YouTube that will explain to you what's wrong with Joseph Smith. And I'm certain the rest of the people on this list. If you follow somebody who's on this list, either Google or reach out to us and we will be happy to explain it. I can talk about the Mormons all day long.
Absolutely.
All right. Number 2 would be the first century Judaizers. And you're probably thinking, well, what's that? And it kind of extends into today's modern era. But the first century Judaizers were the ones that were saying, hey, and able to fully follow Christ, because he was a Jew, you also need to become Jewish or follow the law of Moses, become circumcised and stop eating pork and so on and so forth. And yeah, that's not at all what was taught.
And if you're like, well, wait a second, does that mean that they're not Christians? Were the Judaizers Christians or not Christians? If you want to know more about that, read Galatians and the way that Paul addresses these people, because there doesn't seem to be, this wasn't necessarily following Jesus, this was following Judaism. So it wasn't a gospel of grace, a gospel of salvation. It was still very much a fundamental works based, and it was such a big deal that you have the Jerusalem Council, Acts 15, has to step in right off the bat and define what salvation is, because it was being questioned. So if you're questioning the very nature of salvation, that's why I think the Judaizers make the 10 list.
Right. And I think you see that in today's era. You get a lot of, and I saw this as I was living in Israel. A lot of people come to Israel and they put the Jews on a pedestal instead of putting the Jewish God on the pedestal. You see
Right.
the difference?
Yeah.
And they thought by following the law, which Jesus came to
Fulfill
fulfill the
yeah.
law, and as a Gentile, like I like bacon, for lack of a better term.
There's a phraseology that you've used when talking about works-based salvation before, Zach, that is something to the effect of, if you try to add to what Jesus did on the cross, you take away everything Jesus did on the cross.
Yeah, I mean, for sure.
Like if you cannot add to it, and in trying to, you will remove everything that he did for you.
Yeah. I mean, Paul would say, if you could be saved in any other way, Christ died in vain.
Right.
And Paul, I think that's in 1 Corinthians. I can't remember the exact passage. So, last one.
This one,
the third heretic of the Pepper Poppers list.
This one is, I don't know how I feel about it, but I do know how I feel about it.
Oh, controversial.
It is.
Buckle up, Poppers.
Even within my own, because I've listened to this guy a few times, and he said stuff that was pretty uplifting and seemed to be biblically sound. Stephen Furtick.
Oh, yeah.
And
what church is he a part of?
We've
Elevation
had this
Church.
He's Elevation? Okay, I've gotten that mixed up with Mike Todd before, even though they don't look anything alike.
Right.
Elevation.
See the guy with the beard?
Yeah.
He's got a beard. He's very trendy.
Okay.
I think that he was the pastor who made Pastors and Sneakers blow up. Because Pastors and Sneakers started featuring Mike Furtick a lot.
Okay, so why would you say? I honestly don't know much of anything.
Right, and neither do I.
Elevation Church
I've
does a lot of worship.
I haven't seen all of his sermons, but I've seen little clips of stuff. And generally, he's basically become the modern face of the health and wealth movement. And I guess that's where, instead of calling him heretical, I guess he kind of encompasses that whole movement, or that whole genre of churches of the health and wealth, name it and claim it and stuff like that. And I think that yeah, I don't know how to describe.
He is millennial Joel Osteen. He is a very, very health, very much does not describe sin at all. Has a very modalist ideals.
Right. So like one of the things is
head.
we're like little gods, basically God in us. And,
I have heard him. I have heard
we
the
are
little gods
little,
thing.
Yeah, and that really becomes part of the health and wealth thing.
Well, you just heard it here. Outlaw Radio just called Elevation Church heretics. Spice Daddy, top 10 list. If that's controversial, hit us up. I know nothing about this, so I would love to get the feedback. Right. I've done no research on it, but Spice Daddy and Creighton know more about this than I do, and that's an interesting topic broadly. Like, is there any room within the health and wealth?
Right, and that's where I struggled.
As being actually, like, you're going to hell?
And
is Joel Osteen going to hell?
I struggled.
Joel Osteen, I think is. Yeah.
I struggled to put him on here, just because some of the stuff I've seen from him makes sense, but oftentimes that's how it is.
Okay, I'll give you a great example of this. You go and sit down with a Mormon. You will talk to a Mormon, and you will if you don't know anything, you will walk away from the conversation absolutely believing that you guys have the same beliefs about everything.
Oh yeah.
Like the verbiage, the language, everything is identical. It all, like, as a senior in high school, I was working at a golf course, and a new guy got hired on, so I was training him, and I was like, "Hey, what church do you go to?" He goes, "Oh, I go to the Latter-day Saints church, over there on Oak Road." And I was like, "Okay, that's cool." I didn't know anything about anything. And but I did know, like, I don't think Mormons are Christians, but I started asking him about Jesus and dying on the cross and, saving you from your sins and this, that, and the other. And it's like, oh, okay, I guess we're the same. Then I started studying it more when I got to Bible college. It's like, oh, no. When I used the word Jesus, you had a totally different definition for who Jesus is. When I said dying on the cross, your understanding of what that actually did is a totally different thing than what my biblical beliefs. So when you say this about Steve Furtick.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's what's dangerous about heretics, is that, like with Satan, if the lie was super obvious,
it wouldn't be nearly as effective.
Exactly. So,
which Elevation Church statement of faith follows the general Orthodox beliefs of Christianity.
Are you getting cold
Trinity.
feet here, Spice?
Yeah, you're really
were
going-
kinda teetering
I did,
now.
but I
You're
think
soft on
I
this
think
one.
this might be it. This him being on the list might make a good whole episode topic.
All right. Well, we'll put that to the docket.
I'm on board.
Pepper Poppers, close us out, and then we'll move on.
See you later, my little pepper poppers.
There's no hot sauce. This seems weird.
There's not.
It just seems
Hey, I
weird.
saw the pickles over here if you want them.
yeah,
You
whatever.
know, man, you do not understand how the
We're
more I
moving
thought
on.
about those
We're
pickles,
moving
the
on
more
from the pickles.
disgusted I got.
Hey, if you'd like to send Justin pickles,
Just make sure they're dill pickles, your standard pickles, whether they be spicy or not. But if they are sweet pickles, they are going in the garbage.
all right.
Half sours?
Daniel chapter 3. I want to open looking at a little bit of scripture. It's going to set the stage for the full discussion we'll have a little bit later in the episode. But Daniel 3, quick flyby background. Children of Israel have been rebellious against God. God decides he's going to judge them. He judges the 10 northern tribes known as Israel via the Assyrian Empire, Judah, which is the tribe of Judah, and Benjamin, whose capital city is Jerusalem. They get wiped out by the Babylonian Empire and specifically King Nebuchadnezzar. The choice men of Jerusalem, the choice brightest, smartest, cream of the crop, get taken from their homeland, taken to Babylon to serve the king's wishes. Famously, this is Daniel. Daniel is one of these men. He's got some buddies, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, as we'll see. Also, homies of his, the three amigos. So they're in Babylon. Everything that they would identify with has been stripped from them. They dress different. They speak different. Except for they still eat kosher. Like, they were able to hold on to this religious identity, and they refuse to worship false gods, which sets the scene for chapter 3. We read, and I'm just going to kind of skim through this to give you the idea in case you're unfamiliar with the story. It's one of Jessica's pet peeves is that when you go to a Bible study and the pastor's preaching or whatever, and he says, "Oh, well, you know the story." She hates that because she didn't grow up with the stories. And so a lot of times she's like, "I don't know the story. Please tell me the story." So I don't want to assume anyone watching that you automatically know about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, Daniel 3, even though it is, I'd call it kind of like a famous felt board Sunday school story.
VeggieTales does a good
VeggieTales
of it.
So-
Rat Shack and Benny.
So Nebuchadnezzar, the king, chapter 3 opens, made an image of gold whose height was 60 cubits with this, that, the other. He set it up in the plain of Dura, the province of Babylon. King Nebuchadnezzar sent word to a bunch of people in the government, all the officials, to come to the dedication of this image. Verse 3. So all these guys come to see the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Then a herald cried aloud. So this is the formal declaration. It's commanded, O peoples, nations, and languages, the time you hear the sound of a bunch of instruments and symphony with all other kinds of music. So when the boom box hits play, you shall fall down and worship the gold image that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. And whoever does not fall down and worship shall be cast immediately into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. So at that time, when the people heard the sound of the boombox playing, everyone falls down. They worship the gold image which Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Now, therefore, verse 8, at a certain time, Chaldeans, tattletales, they come forward and they accuse the Jews.
Snitches get stitches.
Yeah. It says, "You king, you've made this decree. Here's the deal. If you don't worship, you're cast into the burning fiery furnace. There are certain Jews that you've set up, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They have not paid due respect regarding you. They do not serve your gods or worship the gold image which you have established." So Nebuchadnezzar, verse 13, in rage and fury, gave the command to bring these men. So they brought them before the king. Nebuchadnezzar said, "Yo, guys, is this true?" Now, if you're ready at the time you hear the boombox, go ahead, fall down, worship the image I've made, and all will be good. But if you don't, you'll be cast immediately into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. And then Nebuchadnezzar says at the end of verse 15, "And who is this God who will deliver you from my hands?" Well, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they immediately answer the king. They say, Neb, we don't have any need to answer you in the matter. Like, we don't even need to wait around. If this is the situation, if we have to bow down and worship this gold image that you've created, if that's the case, our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the fiery furnace. He will deliver us from your hand, O king. And if not, let it be known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods, nor will we worship the gold image that you have set up. So Nebuchadnezzar's like, I'm just going to assume you didn't know the deal, but I'm going to make sure you know the deal. So the next time it happens, let's get with the program. And so the three amigos are like, okay, we know the deal, and we don't really have to wait for you to press play on the boombox. Like, if this is the way it's going to roll, well, our God is going to take care of us. And then they're like, and even if he doesn't, we're not going to worship your stupid little image. So Nebuchadnezzar, verse 19, is full of fury. Nobody talks to him that way. And the expression on his face changed towards the three amigos. He spoke, commanded that they heat the furnace 7 times more than it was usually heated. He commanded certain mighty men of valor who were in his army to bind the three amigos, cast them into the fiery furnace. These men were bound in their coats, their trousers, their turbans, their other garments. They're cast in the midst of the fiery furnace. Therefore, because the king's command was urgent, the furnace was exceedingly hot, so hot that the flame and the fire killed the men who took up the three amigos. So the executioners died because it's that hot. Now, verse 23. These 3 men, they fall down bound into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. But Nebuchadnezzar was astonished. He rose in haste and he spoke. He said to his counselors, do we not cast 3 men bound into the fire? And they said, true, king. Look, he answered, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they are not hurt. And the form of the 4th is like the Son of God. Then Nebuchadnezzar went near the mouth of the furnace, and he spoke, hey, 3 amigos, servants of the Most High God, come out, come here. So they come out from the midst of the fire. And all the counselors, they saw these men on whose bodies the fire had no power. The hair of their head was not singed, nor were their garments affected, and the smell of the fire was not on them at all. So Nebuchadnezzar spoke, saying, blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who sent his angel and delivered his servants who trusted in him. And they have frustrated the king's word and yielded their bodies, that they should not serve nor worship any god except their own. Therefore, I make a decree that any people, nation, language which speaks anything against the God of the 3 amigos shall be cut in pieces. Their houses shall be made into an ash heap, because there is no God who can deliver like this. Then the king promoted the 3 amigos in the province of Babylon. So there's your story. You read a story like that, and there's, I think, a measure of disconnect, because it's so very hard to like you can pull like the obvious lessons, trusting God, trusting God leading to a fiery furnace, but God, Jesus preserving you through it, being bold, the faith. I mean, there's broad principles like that are very easy to kind of extrapolate out from just the basic narrative of this particular tale. But like trying to take that story and make it relevant into like our culture is often a bit frustrating, because we think of this in such an ancient way that we lose, I think, how relevant applicational it really is. For example, like we're not in a situation yet where, the government, our government, the secular government, the world, the culture, whatnot, are actually building statues, physical statues. Like Nebuchadnezzar, like we're given the dimensions. He built a gold statue of himself. And it's like, yeah, you're going to worship it. That's so inconceivable. Now you look at the book of Revelation, that might be more conceivable later on in our history than you might not think. That being said, you look at that and you're like, well, I'm not running the risk of this. And not just that, but like getting whacked for it. Like, how is that even like relevant Like, so we look at the story, ancient times, ancient people, conquered Jewish people taken to Babylon, immersed in Chaldean culture, this litmus test for really being Babylonian, this statue, if you don't, you die. Like, the whole thing is, again, it's such a foreign idea that we, I think, miss, like, the basic concept that is very, very real. And I think very, very relevant. And that is the fact that it might not be a golden statue, but there are things that we've seen within our culture, falsehoods, things diametrically opposed to the truth that stand in total violation of God's word, of God's established order, things that run counter to our faith. I'm not talking about like the COVID vaccine or not, or like whether I should have worn a face mask or not. I'm not talking about those type of things, but like bigger issues regarding, let's say, what marriage is or isn't, what gender is or isn't, the place of scripture within our school system. Like there are big cultural things that have been these waves of things where Christians have really been placed into a position very similar to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Now, not to the extreme of like burning fiery furnace, but like to the extreme of like, you're either going to shut up and bow down to this thing we've established and said is worthy of worship. You will accept this. You will bow down, you will accept it, you agree or disagree, you will bow down. If you stand up and don't follow the norm, there'll be repercussions. And if you take this story and you place it within that context, I think a great illustration of this is the weird, wacky, almost like cancerous groupthink that started like 5 years ago regarding transgenderism. Where like out of nowhere, there was a new orthodoxy that was established within our culture. That orthodoxy said that you had to believe certain things, and if you didn't believe certain things, if you didn't bow down, well, there would be repercussions. Now, I've set the stage for that. In a few minutes, I'm going to give a couple of examples of how the culture has swung back the other direction. But before we get to that, I want to make sure that we got time. Last week, we had it all planned out to have another installment of Ifs, Intersecting Faith and Science with Pope C. And so hold the thought. We've established this idea in Daniel. We're going to connect it, give a real world application, and then kind of wrap up the show at the end, talking about as Christians, what this should mean and matter for us. But with that being said, Creighton, let's roll the intro.
Pope Creighton's prayer, it rises high, where faith and science touch the sky. In the word and wonder truth is clear, God's design in every sphere. Oh, Pope Creighton dreams with heart sincere of a world where truth appears, faith and reason shine as one in Pope Creighton's prayer. God's will be done.
Hello. Welcome to Intersecting Faith and Science. I am your host, Pope Creighton. And
Pope C.
So, I think that this is actually going to dovetail nicely into the rest of the episode.
Oh, cool.
Which is really neat because we have not talked about this
Totally
really at
unplanned.
all.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Because I was planning on doing this last week. So, Zach, just for the sake of argument, do you know what a light year is? Like what a light year actually is?
Man, I mean, So it's the distance that light travels in a year?
Yes, it's the distance. You nailed it. That's exactly what it is.
Perfect. Well, I just want to know by the name. Sometimes the name will explain itself.
Yes, a light year is a measure of distance and is the amount of space that a beam of light can go through in 1 year. For perspective, light travels the 93 million miles between the sun and the earth in about 8 minutes. So it can travel 93 million miles in 8 minutes. A light year is just traveling at the same speed. It goes in a year.
So 8 minutes, imagine like extrapolating that out further
Way
from the sun.
further. It's huge.
Galaxy measurements.
Yes.
Okay.
So the last time I did an IFS, I referenced a thing called the Helix Nebula.
I remember, yes.
And so I wanted to do my IFS today on the Helix Nebula. This is what it looks like. It is also known as the Eye of God or the Eye of Sauron.
Which is a reference to Lord of the Rings, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
it's a reference to Lord of the Rings. Because it looks kind of like a giant eye sitting out in space.
Yeah, red eye, needs some eye drops.
Yes.
Some saline solution.
This was discovered in the 1850s, 1824. I had that written down. It was discovered in 1824.
Now, like a big telescope.
It is by a big telescope, way out in space. It is 700 light years away from Earth, which is 4 quadrillion miles, which is a 4 followed by 15 zeros. So it is way out there.
It's like it's a distance that's very hard to even fathom.
It is a distance that is like no one really like. How much is a quadrillion? It is unfathomable. Other than that's a very large number.
A quadrillion is like trillions to billions, right? Quadrillion to trillion.
Quadrillion, trillion, billion, million.
Okay.
Yes. So it is.
It's a lot. It's a big number.
It is a lot. It is also.
It's going to be about the U.S. debt in 3 years.
Yes.
It'll be like a quadrillion.
It is also itself very large. It is 3 light years across. So again, this is it. From one edge of like the bright orange side to the other is approximately 3 light years, which, to put it into perspective, is 17 trillion miles, or 17 followed by 12 zeros. I was going to try and do how many Earths would that fit in?
It doesn't even matter.
I had to use solar systems, and it's 944.
I don't even know.
And you don't know how big the solar system is, so that doesn't really help. It is really, really large.
So this thing, if I could summarize,
yes,
it's really, really big.
It's really, really big.
Really, really far away.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm with you.
Both of those things.
Tracking.
Now, I want to show, just for a second, what it actually looks like in the night sky. Because this is it, right? This is a less high-grade image.
So I can go outside and see this?
No. This is why. So this is what it looks like. And as we're pulling away, we're basically zooming out. This is a couple of composite images. We're zooming out from the Helix Nebula. Every dot you see is either a star or a galaxy or another nebula as we're looking up at the night sky.
Okay,
right?
so I'm in my backyard. I'm looking
up at the night sky. So this is it.
Okay.
There you have the constellations of Aquarius, Capricorn, and Pisces.
Yeah, so you're not seeing that Joker in the night sky.
You're not seeing that Joker in the night sky. But what I want you to think about is the fact that how big we just said that star was, or that nebula was, and how big the rest of space is around it in this picture. And then think about the fact that this picture goes on in 360 degrees
right.
around it. Right. That's how big space is. It is unfathomable.
It's very spacious.
It is very spacious. In fact, the largest thing that we know of in our in our universe is known as the Hercules Corona Borealis Great Wall. And it's a supercluster of galaxies that's 10 billion light years long.
They should have just named that the biggest thing that we've ever seen before.
That would have been, but also
an easier title.
Hercules Corona Borealis is pretty neat. So here's what I want to talk about in the intersection.
And the context of that.
Yes.
Okay.
Is space is unfathomably large. And a lot of times you will hear atheists or deists say, how in the world can you believe in a God that cares about us, specks on a speck, given how big space is?
Right.
You'll hear that.
Common.
How in the
common.
world could he care about a speck on a speck on a speck?
We're that insignificant.
We're incredibly insignificant. And like when you look at space like that, it's kind of easy to believe it. So I want to just read from Matthew 10, what Jesus says to you. And this is where the dovetail is.
Okay.
It says, whatever I tell you in the dark, this is Jesus talking, whatever I tell you in the dark, speak in the light, and what you hear in the ear, preach on the housetops. And do not fear those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul, but rather fear him who is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. Are not two sparrows sold for a copper coin, and not one of them falls to the ground apart from your Father's will? But the very hairs of your head are all numbered. Do not fear, therefore, you are of more value than many sparrows. Not only does God care about the planet as a whole, not only does he care about each of his children on the planet, he has numbered the hairs on our head. He cares about the very sparrows that we don't. We see sparrows as insignificant, which is why he says, aren't sparrows sold for a copper coin?
Yeah.
Aren't sparrows insignificant? Not to God, they're not. How much more valuable are we to God than sparrows? So as we go into this stand up and whatnot, remember that God, when you look up at the night sky and you feel insignificant, remember that God has numbered the hairs on your head. God cares about you more than many sparrows.
The other component to this, if I could add just maybe
Absolutely.
because this also ties back into the last ifs where the nebulous was kind of brought in, is like, okay, established, very, very big, very, very far away. Mm-hmm. Atheists want to say that should be the evidence of us being very, very insignificant. However, if you place this into the context that on the second day God made all of that
and said it is good,
and said they're going to love this, and God created with age, so he sped up the light. Like, we don't actually know, and this is fair, if what we're seeing in the night sky still exists anymore.
We literally can't. If it's 17 billion light years away, it would take 17 billion light years for light to get to us.
Meaning that in the genius of God, what you could say would be evidence of insignificance. If you say, well, God made this for me to see and enjoy, it's now evidence of my significance, because God put all of that up there so that I could see it.
Yes.
And that we could discover it.
And enjoy it.
For years and years and years, we didn't know it existed.
Until 1824.
Until we got no idea. Until we had a telescope that could look at it. And then like, oh, dang, look at that. Yeah, God put that there literally for this moment.
Yes.
So I love it. I think that's great. Now that does kind of transition us real well back to our original topic, and that is this idea of bowing down. I'm going to reverse the video order, by the way.
Okay.
So several years ago, I say several years, man, what would you say, 4 or 5 years?
4 is probably a good bet.
It was like out of nowhere. And if you were like me, you're like, I don't understand what's happening. Where it was like, so for the history of the world, there's been 2 genders. And then out of nowhere, literally, it felt like out of nowhere. If you believe that there are 2 genders, you were a bigot. And that was just, every smart person, there were multiple genders, and there was no difference between men and women, and men could be women and women could be men, and it was no longer connected to the litmus test we've had biologically forever. That's actual sex. We somehow divorced sex and gender from their equivalency. And then it was like, boys should be able to play in girls' sports. And that's when it was like, wait a second. Like, boys can play in girls' sports. And it's like, huh? But it was like, if you said anything on Twitter at the time, you get banned. People were losing their jobs. Like, if you did, like, almost overnight, there was like this transnormative belief system got imposed on our American culture, and you either bowed down to it or you were run off from the public square. You were not allowed to participate or be involved in the public square of ideas anymore. And people, and if you don't think that was a real thing, I remember you had to put pronouns in your bio. And if you didn't put, not having pronouns in your bio, or starting Zoom meetings by saying, hello, I'm Zach, I'm he, him. If you didn't do that, you were, that was a fireable offense. Like you were, again, it was very much, we had this culture that got imposed almost overnight, where you either bowed down to that or you face severe consequences. Now, we're not talking about Nebuchadnezzar building a golden statue saying, worship it. But in a way, spiritually, it's the same thing. Because the spirit of Babylon, this fallen world running contrary to the things of God, controlled by a very real enemy, established an idol that we knew was a false god. And if you didn't bow down, you would suffer. Now, I want to give two examples of this that really kind of I found to be fascinating. So I am a big Malcolm Gladwell fan. Now, Malcolm Gladwell has some liberal bent to him, but I think he's a free thinker. Like I enjoy his observations. He's a very good writer. I enjoy reading. I've read just about anything that Malcolm Gladwell has ever produced. He was on a panel, and the panel discussion was about men participating in female athletics, which was like completely contrary to like why we had Title IX. Like it was just bizarre. And then like, so they had this panel discussion, and Malcolm Gladwell just rolled right along with it. Now, the reason I bring it up is he's just recently come out and said some very interesting things about that time period I find to be illuminating. Creighton, can we show, it's about 45 seconds, I think. Just show this clip for the audience just to know if you haven't seen it.
If we did a replay of that exact panel at the Sloan Conference this coming March, it runs in exactly the opposite direction. And it would be, I suspect, near unanimity in the room that trans athletes have no place in the female category. I don't think there's any question. I just think it was a strange. The reason I'm ashamed of my performance at that panel, because I share your position 100%, and I was cowed. The idea of saying anything on this issue, I was I believe in retrospect, in a dishonest way. I was objective in a dishonest way.
So I absolutely appreciate the fact that Malcolm Gladwell has come out, cleared things up. But that clip is interesting to me in two ways. And I want, Creighton, some of your feedback here about, because you watched the video as well. It's like he acknowledges first that there was an absolute, like, systematic atmosphere where you bowed down or there were repercussions, to the point that a guy that is a free, and that's why he apologizes in the video, is because he's like, I was a coward. Like I should have stood up. Like he acknowledges the real, genuine pressure that existed, right? To bow down and embrace a total lie, a destructive lie, as opposed to standing up to truth. That has been universally true since the beginning of time. I mean, we're not even talking about like a fringe idea. We're talking like the basis of humanity, gender. The other part of it that I found interesting is that he now acknowledges that pendulum has completely swung the other direction. And if the panel was done today, nobody would have agreed that letting biological men participate in women's sports would be a good idea. And that has changed in the last 2 years, maybe. Like, to me, it's a very, that those two acknowledgments are really interesting. What did you think?
I agree. I think it's very interesting that I find it really interesting that he is willing to stand in front of a camera and say, I was a coward, because that's not something that people do easily. A lot of the times you want to be like, you'll hear people try and waffle back and forth as to why they did something. I appreciate that he said that his reasoning was that he was cowed and that he did it because he was afraid of being on the outs of whatever the panel was or whatever. I also think it's fascinating that he is saying that it would be the other way now, because I am still surprised by that a bit. I thought that it would still be kind of a bit of a struggle if you were in a panel like that now.
So what is fascinating again is, like, you can say what you want to about Trump, but Trump was very much him being elected again was kind of the shot across the bow to this progressive, secular, liberal domination of culture that the majority of normal people had enough. Like, I think it was all just an experiment to an extent to see how far. You know what? I'm going to erect a golden statue and have everybody bow down and worship and see where people are at. And
how far can I push the general public to get them to do what I want before they push back?
And that's the spirit of Babylon. And then there was, and you know what pushed far? We shut down schools. We shut down churches. People masked up. People socially distant. Like people stood 6 feet behind each other when there was zero science to support it. Like there's a lot of things that push. But then it's like, yeah, you know what? I don't want dudes in my daughter's bathroom. And you know what? I'm tired of being called a bigot for that belief. And I'm going to go out and Trump's going to represent the fact that I'm done with this nonsense. And that's where I think, like, oh, this, like, you see Target about-faced. Bud Light's doing everything that they can to still try to rebuild a brand that has been absolutely destroyed by having a transgender, and within their marketing program. And then the flip side to it, you see American Eagle, put a white, red-blooded female in some jeans, and as about American as you can get, and people are like, about time we get back to normies, instead of, like, Gap selling me jeans with a bunch of fat people in it. You see what I'm saying? Like there's been some really weird things that have happened within culture.
If they offered me a job, I'd take it.
Yeah, I've understood.
I think what's interesting is to go back to your idea of I want to use the term compliance ladder, which is a psychological term, which is the more you get someone to say yes to your request, the more likely they are to say yes to your requests.
Yeah.
So, like, if you want somebody to do something for you, start small. Hey, can you hand me a glass of water? Sure, why not? Makes them more apt to do things for you in the future. And as you run up the ladder, you can get them to do crazy things. It's basic cult tactics is how they run these compliance ladders on people. And then they end up getting them to do insanity.
So there's a second.
And this is the break.
There's a second video that we have queued up. And the reason that I wanted to do the order is I wanted to like show an example that validated Malcolm Gladwell's core concern. And that is, so I'm a big sports fan. Samantha Ponder, who married Christian Ponder, who used to be the Vikings
I was wondering when you called her Ponder. I was wondering.
Samantha Ponder was she started on College Game Day, the Saturday morning college football sports show. She ended up with the NFL, but she worked for ESPN for like 20 years, built a career, balanced having babies, family, but out of nowhere, she just got whacked. She got totally disappeared. And she just went along with it. Like, she just disappeared. Well, Sage Steele, another ESPN anchor, an African-American lady, had Samantha Ponder, they're really close friends, had her on her podcast. And she explains what happened. So a little context, ESPN is owned by Disney. So Disney owns the sports network. Now, related to this, and I'm not sure what all details are included in this video because it's like an hour and a half podcast, but this is like a short snip of it. The issue was, so she ended up, Riley Gaines was a swimmer competing against Leah Thomas, who was had been on the male team the year before and then transitioned and was dominating female swimming in the NCAA. Riley Gaines was voicing concerns about feeling uncomfortable in the locker room. And so Samantha Ponder ended up tweeting at some point, hey, these girls, their voices need to be heard as well. And then she got a bunch of heat for it. And then she ended up, Megyn Kelly tweeted something about the fact that ESPN had awarded Female Athlete of the Year to a biological man who had been a man for a year. And she's like, do women not matter at all in society? And she just liked a tweet. Play the video.
When the boxer Olympic situation happened and the woman that he was boxing came out and said enough, I just wrote enough is what we should all be saying.
And on Twitter.
On Twitter. And I knew when I sent that, like, this isn't going to go over well. But, like, to me, that's abuse. You have a male in a boxing ring with a female literally beating her.
Yeah.
And we're just supposed to, like, yay, in the name of inclusion. Like, no, what about her? What about her? And so I sent it. And then the next week, I got a text that said, can you jump on a call with this person and this person in like an hour? And one of the bosses is someone I never hear from. And I was like, this is it. But I do want to say, to be sure, I do not believe, nor have I ever believed, that I was solely fired for this. I think the model of my career at that point of only working Sundays in the fall on Countdown was not what ESPN wanted. And they felt like they were paying me too much money to do just one thing. And I had turned down opportunities in the past to work more and do more because of the season of life I'm in. Like, I got 3 little kids, and I'm not giving up that time with them for any opportunity. So I had been really clear on my boundaries with work. So I really don't think me losing my job was solely because of that, but the timing of it almost certainly was. And I was told after the fact, privately, that most people at the top of the company did agree with me on this issue, but that there is
the trans issue.
Yes, but that there is a loud activist group at Disney, and they were not happy with me.
So if you watch, I would highly recommend everybody. It was a wonderful interview. It's very long, but very human. Like, I very much enjoyed it. But she talks, Samantha Ponder, over and over and over again about, like, her big regret is that she bowed down, that she played the game, that she did not take a stand for the things that she believed in, and that there was this real pressure. She loses her job because of it. And she's very gracious in the way that clip plays out. She's very gracious in the way she goes about it. But beyond that, like, it's very clear why she got fired. And so why would Malcolm Gladwell on a panel, like, be very hesitant? Well, he's running in this particular circle of higher liberal academia, and people are getting fired. People are getting deplatformed. The tide seems to have changed, obviously, regarding transgenderism. And I think people are standing up, saying enough's enough. The reason I bring up this topic is that this is not going to be the last one. And as Christians, I'll tie this even in with Charlie Kirk. I think that there was such a reaction to Charlie Kirk's assassination is because Christians saw someone that was standing up. And there were consequences. There's always consequences to standing up. But they're not as great as you think they are. And in fact, they bring you closer to Jesus. Hence, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are thrown in the fiery furnace. Do they die? No. God preserves them, and Jesus reveals himself in a radical way. God's glorified in the end. Samantha Ponder will talk about the fact that, like, that this ended up being the greatest blessing in her life because it reoriented her priorities to her kids, and now she's homeschooling them, and, like, she doesn't care about the career or the money anymore. It's about her little ones. I mean, God works. If you're expecting culture to put up a real obvious big golden statue and say bow down and worship, you're mistaken. But does our culture put up golden statues and say bow down and worship? Absolutely. And there's a cost to standing up. We look at Charlie Kirk, his bravery, his tenacity. You know, the irony is Fox News for about a week ran wall-to-wall Charlie Kirk coverage. Problem is that Charlie Kirk had been banned from Fox News leading up to that for like 2 years because he supported Tucker Carlson when he got fired. And people from Fox were prohibited, by the way, from attending Turning Point speaking engagements, like Greg Gutfeld and some others. And then, like, he dies and Fox jumps right in on the bandwagon. Like, that guy, like, he lost sponsors. I mean, Turning Point's a big success, but it didn't come without cost. And he stood up and there was cost. And as Christians, we need to grow a spine. We need to grow a backbone. We need some tenacity. And we need to be bold. And we bow down to only Jesus. And when you stand up, you might take a bullet. Safest place in a gunfight is bowing down. But we're called to stand for truth. We're not to be buttholes about it. But we are to stand for truth. We're to do it in love. But we're to point to reality and biblical reality, no matter what that costs. And I think over the last couple of years, we've seen examples of like, don't get played and identify idols. You guys, any final thoughts?
I think on that note, I mean, Christianity has a good foundation to stand on. I mean, you look at something like Fox's Book of Martyrs,
Yeah.
which is nothing but a list of stories of people that stood on the foundation of Jesus and the truth.
That wouldn't bow down.
That wouldn't bow down. And you don't have I think oftentimes we read these stories and it is so far from us, but we don't think as Christians believe that we are temporary physical beings. And I think oftentimes we forget that like here and now is just temporary to the eternal. And we need to get back on the page of thinking in the eternal state of mind rather than the temporary state of mind, which, you know, what averaged 82 years in America. I mean, that's
which was Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They're like, our God will save us, and if he doesn't, it's still all good. Right. We're not going to bow down. And that's the eternal mindset. Right.
And I think that's where our shift needs to start focusing on it, is the eternal state of mind as Christians, where the truth is what really matters in the here and now, not this temporary subsequent false truth that we think is going to save us, when it has no bearing on the actual length of time that we're going to exist.
Yeah. Pope C.
It doesn't matter how big your Goliath is, your God is bigger. It doesn't matter what they'll do to you. Either God will save you from them and it'll be fine, or he won't and it'll be fine. It might be harder, but it will be fine.
Yeah. Amen to that. Well, hey, thank you so much for joining us tonight. If you are watching, check out the podcast. So what you've been watching, the audio will be released tomorrow. Apple, Google, Spotify. If you're listening to the podcast, hang out with us one Wednesday night. We stream live at 8 p.m. on Facebook / The Radio Outlaw, as well as my personal X account. And we also stream, most importantly, on our YouTube channel, which is outlawradio.live. If you forget any of that, you can just go to outlawradio.org, learn all about the program. Thanks for joining us tonight. We'll see you guys next week.